Hi guys, this is Lachette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I am back with a new YouTube Pagans ABC challenge video. This is for the letter S, and we will be talking about silence. So silence is the last part of the witch's pyramid, which I've mentioned before in my videos for practice. I mentioned to dare and to will, and the knowledge video is the to know part. So here we are with at least the last part that I personally subscribe to and have some experience with. I know that for some, the way they look at the witch's pyramid is instead of levels, each of the four parts that I've mentioned, to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent, is one of the four corners of the foundation, and then there's a fifth part that represents spirits as the pinnacle of the pyramid. I am not as familiar with that part, so I will be talking about it during this challenge. That might come up in a future video as I learn more. So anyway, to keep silent or to be silent is another way of saying it. It's to me silence is really like, now you can listen, instead of putting out energy, putting out your voice like I am now. Instead of talking, doing, acting, now it's time to be receiving, to just be in a space and not active. And this is important to just life in general. I feel like, especially nowadays, not necessarily now, 2019, but at the very least since, let's say, the industrial age, or since the average person in a first world country anyway is focused on working and following instructions and fulfilling their everyday with things to do, taking time for yourself, taking time to be silent, is important. Also, in a business standpoint, usually the things that are taught to people how to get ahead in life is to be active, to be proactive, to be pre-active, to talk over others, to be the first, to try to get ahead, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy, and sometimes we need to step back and not be that way. And for those who are more naturally silent, who are not doers first, this is their time to shine. And we shouldn't look down on those people because they have something to offer as well. I know from these videos it seems like I'm a really big talker, and I am. I have a lot to say, but it's usually because I don't, on a regular basis, talk very much. And that might seem weird. If this is your only interaction with me on social media, or my business is the only way you interact with me, but I am a person who likes to learn things, who likes to absorb information at a consistent rate, on a consistent basis, like every second of the day. And it is more comfortable for me to just sit back, relax, and observe, to watch, to listen, absorb what is happening around me, whether it's other people, nature, information on the internet, that kind of thing. And this YouTube channel is one of the few outlets I have to like gush in a sense about what I've learned, like, oh yeah, this cool thing. So there's that. Silence means you, like I said, you can listen, you can watch, you can sense things that are not obvious. In silence, we can connect with our intuition, with our instincts, with spirits, with deity, or other natural energies. And this is, I think, an important facet of any type of spiritual work, spirituality. The spirit is not something that we can sense with our five senses, and usually it's not something that we can control or manipulate by talking over it. I mean, we can ignore it, which is something that we do often in this modern time, putting our emotions aside, how we feel, to be more civilized, to accommodate others, to avoid negativity, putting our instincts aside because our instincts are animalistic, they're not civilized, and for the greater good of the whole of society, we need to put those aside and ignore them. Intuition, there's no evidence, proof of that. Those gut feelings that we get that can often help us, there's no proof of that, so we can't rely on it. Those are things that we hear often in society, and it's kind of unfair because those are innate things that are part of us that can't really be studied by science and pinned down, but they still are real and valid. So in silence, you can just rest. You can just be. Things like meditation or even sleep. In sleep, we're resting, we're recharging our batteries, we're taking a break from action and activity, and we're human beings, not human doings. That's a phrase, a saying I came across a couple of months ago that I really liked. It resonated with me very strongly at that moment, and so it just pops up again in my mind when it feels relevant, and this is definitely one of those times. So while we're sleeping, our bodies, our minds is recharging, it's resting, and we take in a lot of information over the course of the day, and we can't always filter it, or we do filter it and we put a lot to the back burner because we can't always deal with it in the moment. And so now that our bodies are no longer active and putting out energy, our minds and our spirits can sort through all of the things that we've taken, and that's where dreams come in. I would also say that in silence, self-care is a cornerstone for Scarlet Moon Creations for me in my life, but my business, it's the core tenet to take care of yourself. And I know self-care is, like I always say, more than just taking a bath, taking a bubble bath and relaxing, but one thing that has in common with, let's say, exercise or meditating or seeing a psychologist is these are usually moments where we're very introspective. We take the time to stop, to rest, to recuperate, to relax, to release. All these R words, these re words, R-E. It's a matter of, like I said, recharging your batteries, taking time to look inward to see how all of the things that we've come in contact have in not infected. I almost said infected, sorry. How they've affected us. How we truly feel about things, about people, about situations. And taking the time to really observe us inside, our spirit, our emotions, our thoughts about things, how we value certain stuff. This is all self-care in those different situations. And a 20-minute bubble bath or a body bath soak is a nice way to take care of yourself physically on the outside while having 20 minutes just to focus on you, the inner you, how you are doing. It's the same thing with exercise. It's the same thing with meditation, just letting things come to the forefront of your mind. It's the same thing with getting enough sleep, and it's the same thing with seeing a psychologist and talking to someone else who has no real connection to you and no no skin in your game, to use an old-fashioned phrase. So I think this is important when you think about what silence is. It's all of those things. It's getting to know yourself by listening into your mind, body, and spirit. Paying attention to you, not so much what the rest of the world set up to dictate what you should be paying attention to, what should be important, what you should be doing or feeling or saying, or how you should be acting. Checking in to make sure that what you say or do or feel or emote, what you're putting out is really what's best for you. And what's best for you might go against what's the grain of society dictates. Things like what's not always in the long term good to be silent about. Those parts of yourself that don't fit in with what you believe society says should be. So volatile emotions, dark impulses, negative interactions, and then realizing how you've been dealing with those. Is it negative self-talk? Are you telling yourself that you're a bad person for having these dark impulses? Negative thoughts, those emotions like, oh man, I shouldn't cry in public because, that's embarrassing and nobody wants to see that. That kind of thing. That's negative self-talk, and it's based off of other people's emotions. And while we should be caring of others and that kind of thing, it shouldn't be above yourself. Sometimes we need to cry and we happen to be in public and it's a good release. And checking in with yourself to make sure that is what's best for you is important. So I think in that way, silencing what's within you, what you might see as negative can be not so good, especially in the long run if you've never listened in. So silence shouldn't be about silencing others or silencing part of you. It should be a time where you can listen to others and listen to other parts of you. Silence can improve your interactions with others. thinking before you speak, letting others finish before you question them or you get your point across, because a lot of times in conversation people are so busy trying to say what they want to say to get their point across, to prove other people wrong, to change other people's minds, that they're not listening to what another person says. And this is great, I think, when it comes to like psychology. You're going to a stranger whose job it is to listen to you, to let you emote, to let you vent, to get that stuff out, to let you speak your truth, and instead of being combative and speaking and so pushy about speaking their own truth at the same time. But, communication is about knowing yourself, sharing that with others, but also about learning, about receiving, taking a bit of them in as well. It's a back and forth. So practicing silence and letting others speak is important to improving our communication skills, our way of interacting with other people. And lastly, I know there's another element to keep silent, to be silent, as far as the witch's pyramid goes. And again, I know this is not just the witch's pyramid, but as far as neo-paganism and modern witchcraft goes, that's what we call it. I know it comes from Alpheus Levi, and it was adopted by the Golden Dawn, and it is a structure that really is from ceremonial magic, and that's fine. But within the context of my channel, with witchcraft, neo-paganism, modern witchcraft, we're calling it the witch's pyramid for ease of understanding and use. So yeah, I know that secrecy and protection are another side to that cornerstone of the witch's pyramid. And for those who may not, for whatever reasons, be able to share their craft or their spirituality or some other part of themselves openly and publicly, to be silent is important as far as that is concerned. And it's about honoring and respecting those people. I am personally not someone who has to deal with this, really. I am open about being a witch, and witch in both a coven and also my personal practice. I have a business that is focused on it, and so yeah, it helps to be public in that sense. But I don't shout it from the mountaintops. Everybody doesn't need to know every little thing about my life. That's not important. I guess that's where I do use silence in this way personally. It's about discretion. Who needs to know? 99.9% of the world does not need to know. But I don't have to hide it purposefully, is what I mean. But for those who do, this is important, and I would never share someone else's practices or beliefs without their permission, and that's just respect on a level for all human beings. Like, that just goes without saying, unless something, never mind. I'm not going to put that unless in there. Let's just leave it at we're all nice people, and I give respect. That's an automatic earned respect, because that's what I choose. But that also goes, keep silent about my coven's rituals and practices. It is part of the rules, for lack of a better word, that our stuff is not public, and so I don't share it. But that ties into respecting others. There are other people in my coven, and not everybody is vocal and public about their practices or being witch or being pagan, and their spirituality, and I respect that, so I keep silent in that sense. It's something I agreed to when I petitioned to join the coven. But on a basic level, I don't. There's also the idea of after you complete a spell to like not think about it, not focus on it, let the universe do its thing. I don't subscribe to that idea of keeping silence in a way, because that's not how my brain and my body works. Every situation is different, and a lot of times I will have dreams constantly after completing spell work, and it's like reminding me that it's working in the background, and I usually remember my dreams and I'll journal about them afterwards, and my thoughts on what they're saying about the spell work that I did. And so yeah, I'm not gonna like throw that to the wayside and be like, no, I can't think about this because, you know, if I do, I might jinx my spell work or whatever. um, it just doesn't work for me, so I don't subscribe to that. um, I trust that the energy is doing what it's doing, but that doesn't mean I don't want to watch it do its thing. If if I can't, then I can't. But if it comes to me, then it comes to me, and I'm not gonna spurn it, I guess. So, yeah, and I don't mind talking about what spell work and stuff I've done publicly either. I don't very often, just because that feels weird and awkward. But I'm it's another thing, like I'm not telling every Tom, Dick, and Harry that yeah, I did a spell last night for a new job or something, because everybody doesn't need to know. However, there are certain people I might share that with because I feel like their input would be interesting. Um, it's a matter of trust and discretion again. So that is all I have to say for or about silence. Let me know in the comments how any of this makes you feel. What do you think about being silent? How does that fit into your practice if you do, or how do you see it being fit into your own practice? Definitely let me know. Do you see it as a burden or something that is positive and helpful to you? And also, particularly about the last point I talked about as far as secrecy and about your spell work, your rituals, maybe your altar, or who, if you do work with any deities or spirits, how important is keeping silent about your craft to you? And do you share it with others, or it's just like, no, absolutely not, that'll mess up what I'm doing? Let me know. I'm curious in the comments. As always, you can find me and my social media links in the description down below, for and my Etsy shop for readings and bath magic. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.